Hello. Good morning to you all. A right-handed salute to all the constitutionalists and people that believe in love, peace, and freedom. Not everybody believes in that. Some people believe in a socialist agenda. They believe however they believe. That's just how it is. I'm a man that believes in free speech so long as you don't threaten people with that speech. You don't say things that are negative or nasty, you know. And hey, people, I don't agree with it, but people can say nasty things so long as they don't, say it in a threatening manner. Just like you can't run into a movie theater and say fire, you can't come up on somebody's land or place and challenge them, in their place. Now the public arena. Uh, oh, am I headed to meet Patrick? Well, no donations have come in. I always shoot straight with you. Now, at times in the past, just like when David said he had the thumb drive, that was a calculated propaganda statement. Okay, good morning. So that was to let the police inside the police department scramble to figure out who can we trust and who can we not trust. So it was a calculated move because when they're dealing with internal issues, it's hard for them to strike out at people with the Constitution. Hey, Mr. Steve, and don't let me forget before I get off on my little tangent or soapbox or whatever. We did part two in the continuing dialogue and information with News Now Houston. Now it's in preparation, so the point is that it'll be coming out maybe today, maybe tomorrow. I don't know. I'll be posting it pretty soon. It's being prepared, and I'm having to have somebody else do that for me because my skills at production are like that, almost non-existent. Now, back to the man. I can't read all this itty bitty tiny writing most of the time, but sometimes I can, depending on the words and blah blah. But anybody said something about David lying about the thumb drive. Well, you can look at it how you want to. The government lies to people every day, all day. Every once in a while, not that it's good to tell a lie, it's never good to tell a lie. I agree with that. However, it was a calculated, planned disinformation. Uh, David's doing well. In fact, we've got a flood of emails supporting him, asking him to continue his good fight, and they believe in him. Now, if, just like in war, okay, just like in war, like in Nazi Germany, for example, we dropped off a lot of propaganda papers talking about how Germany was this and Germany was that to dissuade the people from supporting Hitler in his regime, the Third Reich. Okay? So sometimes, every once in a while, it ain't the ends justify the means. I don't even believe in that. I just believe sometimes if somebody's shooting at you, you got to shoot back at them. It's self-defense. So if you can keep people grabbing at gnats around their head, they can't see to strike out at you and other people. It keeps them busy trying to figure out what's going on. So sometimes it's a calculated move, for lack of a better word. Hey, if you don't like me, don't watch me. If you do, here I am. You can criticize me. That's fine. I got a thick skin and plenty of it. I'm comfortable in my own skin and I'm comfortable in my life. But due to the way things are, I've had to take a lot of security precautions, and so has David. And a few other people have. But hey, if you like me, give me a thumbs up. Or two. Or however many thumbs you got. Some people think that, you know, people forget. Some people are blind. They can't see. Some people are deaf. Some people are missing both their hands because they were either born that way or got that way in an accident or in a war zone or something like that. And so, absolutely 100. Somebody the other day actually sent me an email and says, why do you tell people give you a thumbs up? Some people ain't got thumbs. Most do, but some don't. But I pray for everybody. Uh, there's a lot of innocent people in prisons. I worked in the prison system as collateral duty, and I met a lot of men and women. I worked in women's prison and men's prison that got there because they were hooked up. It was a political agenda. It was a religious agenda. It was a shutting down people. And so they put certain people in jail as a sign to the rest, better knock it off or you're going in a cage too. So it's a control mechanism. You know, I knew a lot of this. Hang on, let's see. Uh, well, see, whoever you are, I can't see your name, but you assume and you presume him to be guilty in public opinion, not in a court of law where you have discovery and you can compel and cross-examine the other side, and then all the dirty little nasty lies on the other side come out when you're sworn to tell the truth or affirmed or revered to tell the truth, okay, under an oath. Or your yes be yes, your no be no. But you're under the law and operation of law. So people that presume people to be guilty just because they're arrested, that's very sad. Okay. Uh, David has been an activist to some point since childhood. Uh, that'll be an upcoming video that come out today or tomorrow, hopefully. Could be later in the week. But I want to give y'all an update because I feel like I'm going to do my very best every 5 to 7 days. If I don't have a video out on auditing or some situation, then I'm going to do my very best to he's part of the Merv Manson family cult. Okay, I get it. Well, when you're deranged or delusional because you're under the control of a man or woman, you know, go back and study Manson's life and see how he kind of started off down here, and then nobody did nothing, and he kind of come up to here. Nobody did nothing. He kind of come up to here, and people started kind of wondering, and then boom, completely went out of control and caused his followers to commit murder. Now, although I can't say due to ongoing investigation, the leader, uh, Merv Manson family cult leader, he he's escalated things. Now he goes on his videos and says, "I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Ain't responsible. Ain't responsible." Go look at the Australian 60 Minutes interview with Manson. And he said, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't kill them people. But he caused people to feel emboldened and feel like they could go out there and commit these murders. They were going to please and appease their leader, their grand leader. He had delusions of grandeur. He had delusions in life. So he passed those along to other people, and they followed. So whether you got the Ku Klux Klan and some guys up there preaching hate, bigotry, whatever he's preaching, then the followers feel like if he says various things like, hey, It would sure be nice if that guy was run out of town. And then his followers take it that that's an order. Although it's a psychological suggestive thing to say, hey, I want you to go out and do it. It's another way. Yeah, Jim Jones, uh, let's see, where was he at? In Guyana. Uh, he started here and he started off good, but then he started going sour, and then he got power hungry, money hungry, but mainly just control. Just control. It's a control thing. You know, they have to have control of every aspect of their life, and part of that is controlling you. You know, Jonestown, yeah, that's right. You know, for a long time, most of the people named Jones was almost scared to utter their surname because people literally would ask you related to that Jim Jones and that massacre down there? You know, yeah, he was a junkie, uh, and crazy too. But there's different levels of crazy. You know, some people start off here and they're not checked, and they move to the next level and they just keep going. And most people can see that's what happened with the Merb Manson family cult. They started off with a difference of opinion, and they started off with contention for people that question police and government servants, tyrants, that because uh, they didn't follow the leader's suggestions, they didn't comply. So then it went to the next level, click, and the next level, click. Well, all I can say is it's evolved and erupted into very, very, very violent, deadly force issue. So that will be coming in the days ahead. Whether that's 3 or 5 days or 20 days, I would say probably a week or so. Uh, then those things will begin to happen. And then we can talk about it. But right now, if I said anything, I think that would be impeding a police investigation, law enforcement investigation. Uh, so I, I don't feel as though I should say it. In other words, law enforcement didn't come to me and say, Chief, you can't talk about this. But 40 years, even 6 months, a cop that's been on the road for 6 months knows you can't put out into the public information so people can try and destroy evidence. They can try and go hide. They can play word games, and they can create a cover story. So when people don't know things are coming, then they do what they do, you know? So when it happens, I'll be able to go into full disclosure and just factually say A, B, C, D. Just report the facts, and then you decide. And some people think I'm fair and balanced, and some people think I'm on the lunatic right fringe. I consider myself center right. I mean, I'm a constitutionalist. I believe in our forefathers. I believe in the country they set up. And if you don't like the system, there's a lawful way by constitutional amendments to correct it. You can't go around the Constitution or dig under it or say you got something over it. Anything that's repugnant to the Constitution is null and void. Supreme Court's ruled on it more than once. Shuttlesworth versus Birmingham's a good example. That happened here in Alabama. So the point is, this has already been debated. This has already been argued, and they've said it more than one time. So I'm working on an association of current and former chief law enforcement executives. But also that doesn't mean it can't be rank and file. If you just sworn in today as an officer, you could be a member of our association. I'm working on putting it together now. I've had some retired chiefs of police, constables, sheriffs, bailiffs, city, county, state, federal that I've talked to, and they would be interested in me creating this association or fraternity or whatever you want to call it. We'll also have a place where the ordinary, everyday Joe or Sally or whomever you are can be a member and support it. And then we'll use those funds that come from membership or fund dues, however, our attorney will set it up, and it'll be in a position to where we'll be able to be educators, and we will try and educate by sending material to police departments, district attorney's office, state attorney's office, and keep them up to date, which should be done to say, hey, these are these case laws and these are how the courts have interpreted them. If you disagree, you need to tell us in writing. Elsewise, we're going to explain to the people this is the law and this is how it works. And we're going to do that through an attorney. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. God bless you all. I pray God bless you in a great and a mighty way in your families and protect you and bring peace, love, and joy. I'm a man of peace, love, and joy. But when the government or an individual man or woman, good morning, says something along the lines of, they're hating on you, they're violent, that's where their free speech stops. When I went out and first started as a police cadet, here's the way we were taught. This man, he's got a foot and you got a foot. He can come up to your foot, y'all can be toe to toe, but his rights stop right there and your rights stop there. He can't climb up on your toes and you can't climb up on his toes. Good morning. Okay, so y'all meet here. Y'all are toe to toe. That's okay. But bam, once it's here or here, you lose your rights when you impede on another man's rights, or a woman, or a child. you know, and there's so many things in the law that I wish people could. Good morning, you. Uh, well, you know, if people use slang, cuss words, curse words, a lot of people call it cursing. You curse your own self by what comes out of your mouth. And a lady that was talking to me the other day, she reiterated something that she believes in and I believe in. A lot of people worry about what people put in their body, such as alcohol, tobacco, drugs, whatever. Okay? I say that's between them and God. It ain't between us, government, and God. That's they're grown folks, not children. Grown folks have to make those decisions. And what they do in the privacy of their home is their business. Now, if they take it out here in public, blah blah blah, that's another thing. Uh, I I think people judge you by the speech that you use. The more intelligent, analytical, thinking man or woman will draw conclusions, but they're based on facts. They're based on the totality of the situation. They're they're based on deep thought, reflection, life experiences, formal training, informal training. I probably got 3, 4 times as much informal training at a law library or at a computer or talking to judges and attorneys, talking to state attorneys, DAs, people out in the street that educate me every day of my life. Okay? My education has only begun. That's the way I try to look at it. Like, hey, I know more than some people, but there's other people that are way up here. So I'm always learning, always learning. It just doesn't stop for me. Uh, that was one of my good neighbors. Uh, Problems with the sheriff. Let me see what that says. Problem with the sheriff department. Hmm, that doesn't sound right. Remember, I'm not an attorney. I'm not a judge. I tell y'all that all the time because somebody might be new and didn't see my about information, where I make public disclosure and have and continue to. And I try and reiterate all the time. People that are paralegals aren't attorneys. We're non-attorneys, or we're a private attorney general, as the government refers to people a lot of times that do uh, pro se work, blah blah blah. So I don't give legal advice to nobody. I'm in my capacity as a minister and as a man. So what I say is a professional opinion or a personal opinion. Could be a life opinion. Okay. Uh, the longer you live, you should continue to grow in your knowledge, your understanding. And a woman that I know, she's kind of a statesman type lady. She always says, don't curse yourself by cursing. In other words, if you run around talking nasty to people, like calling them retard, stupid, illiterate, and with a bad attitude, and it's not trying to say factually somebody is acting or behaving in an ignorant manner based on your opinion, based on your life experience and your knowledge, you know, uh, and using all this foul language, what goes out is going to turn around and come back. And that's what that woman the other day was saying to me uh, at a gathering. She says, I think what comes out of your mouth is more important than what goes in your mouth. People straining at gnats and swallowing camels. So, using that analogy, that's true. There are people that do smoke. There are people that drink alcohol or smoke dope or whatever they smoke, or drugs or things they put in their body that probably not good for them. Okay, been there, done that. You know, I've I've been a young man. I have gone out and I smoked for about 25 years and quit 15 years ago. Okay, but those are those days and times. It's still a struggle not to do it. Uh, that's just how it is. I never was alcoholic, but at one time, young in my law enforcement career, a lot of guys would go out to a club and drink. Now, even back then, we were pretty smart and had some designated driver before they even had a term for it. Somebody that was sometimes one of the officers' wives or somebody, and so drinking 6 or 8 or 10 beers or a few mixed drinks. Been there, done that. That wasn't smart, but it was a way to relax and camaraderie. Okay, and it doesn't make it bad. It just wasn't the smartest thing I could have done. But what come out of my mouth is what says who you are. You know, a preacher I served under one time, he said it this way. And when I say served under, it's under his leadership. He said, look, he said, if an orange, something appears to be an orange, and you cut it and you squeeze it, orange juice should come out. Okay? He said, if you squeeze it and apple juice come out, something's wrong. He said, so if you're a Christian and you get squeezed and foul, nasty things come out of you, that kind of says something. If, you know, you talk nasty, that's what's in you. If you talk good, considerate, logical, help people, that's what's in you. So I'm not perfect, not by a long stretch. I don't know nobody is except Jesus. Uh, so, but some people are just rank sinners and just rank bad people. They've let themselves become so contaminated and so corrupt and so mean and nasty. Their flesh acts very bad. You know, It is what it is, and I call it like I see it. If you like me, give me a thumbs up. If you got a thumb, if you don't, maybe you can talk to the computer or communicate with it to show your like. If you dislike me, that's okay too. I prefer you like me. Everybody likes to be liked. But if you don't, I respect your opinion and your feelings and your thought. What does got ears mean? Of course I've got ears. There's one, there's one. People used to call me Shrek. I guess because I got the big head and little ears. You know, if I had big ears, people would say, oh, Dumbo. You know what I'm saying? So you can't win for losing sometimes with certain people. They just got a negative, nasty attitude, and they just ain't gonna leave you. They're gonna try and body shame you. They got fatophobia. See, in my mind's what I call it, fatophobia. If somebody's fat, it scares them or freaks them out, and they psychologically act out and try and talk you down. Uh, would it be okay? Good morning. Would it be okay if they're skinny for me to call them sickly? You look nasty and sickly. You're so thin. Would that work? You know, it's society. You know, the beautiful people. The beautiful people. Let's have the very best looking people in magazines. Let's have the most attractive people in movies and so forth and so on. But I've seen over the last 10 or 15 years, even Hollywood's changed and they've started putting a lot of different people in there that reflect actual society. So, I always say, hey, listen to this. Wherever you go, there you are. Meaning, if you're a jerk in Dallas, when you get to Los Angeles, you'll still be a jerk. If you're a good man or woman in New York City, when you get to Miami, you'll still be a good man or woman. It just means you can't, uh, you can't escape yourself. Okay, and just like narcissistic people, that's a psychopath according to Harris Psychopathy Exam on Merv, John Boy. Uh, they can cover up the evil where you can't see it. It's there. They just cover it up, put a tent over it. But eventually, it keeps peeking out of the side because they got impulse control issues, anger management issues, and they can't control their life, and then they start peeking out, and it starts showing. You can only hide who you are so long, and your true colors come out. That doesn't have nothing to do with, quote, a record check. Records are what somebody put on a piece of paper that might be accurate or inaccurate. It might be 20% truth and 80% a lie. It may 80% truth and 20% a lie. So remember, if we got a big pot of stew, just a gigantic pot of stew, and I only put one drop of poison, which is a lie, inside of the porridge, the soup, who wants to be the first one to eat the cup of that? You don't, because it'll hurt you. When you listen to trash in your ears, it rolls around in your head. The more trash you listen to, the more it rolls around in your head. And I've seen people in the auditing community change from one side to the other. And when I say that, I don't mean necessarily they went bad, but their conclusions changed and the way they behave changed based on those conclusions. And the team psychologist and his colleagues has said this is what is happening. This is why it's happening. And I have called for unification in the movement. I'm not Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I'm certainly not him. And I'm not saying that. But the principles of the man or the way I see myself. Some people see themselves more like Malcolm X. Okay? I see myself more as a peacemaker and a peacekeeper, a real peace officer. Okay? If you're a carpenter all your life and then you go into retirement, do you really quit being a carpenter? No. Did I I retired my position, but I'll always be a peace officer. I'm a peacemaker, peaceful man. Uh, People say, "How come you don't go to jail? Cops are still giving you great favor." No, it's because I don't threaten them to their face and make them go into survival mode and act out like a nut. I don't cross the line. If the line's here, I don't even go up to the line. I'm over here in the safe zone where I can try and talk to people and educate them and help them. That's why black people like me, David, Steve, Todd, Jack, we got a lot of people on the inside of these organizations, and this is what they do. We are good cops. We can't get rid of the bad cops because of the union, some facilitating mid management or upper management. We can't get rid of them. However, we can send you documents, we can talk to you on the phone, we can give you all the information you need, and then you can out them, and then there'll be a public outcry. That's why they keep funneling things to us, because good cops really are trying to get rid of bad cops, but they're trying to do it so they don't lose their job. Would you rather, if you had a department that had 100 officers, okay, you see what I'm saying? 100 officers. Say 90 of them are really good. You wouldn't mind having a cup of coffee with them. Wouldn't mind going hunting or fishing with them or spending time with them and their families. But those 10 bad cops, 10%, make the rest of them look like crap. Makes them look really bad, okay? And these other officers complain and complain, but they don't have nothing officially that will get them suspended or fired in a legal manner. They belong to some big police union. However, if they send that information to me or the next guy and we go audit and we deal with these bad cops, then the whole public sees what's going on and there's public outcry. Then there's action, because at some point even the police union cannot control the department or office agency. They can't control them. And because of public outcry, bam, they're gone. They're shut down. It is what it is. Let's see. Tim says, I'm going to raffle off an AR 15. Good for you. That is good. That's going to be for the March. I got some people asking me to go up there for it, and I said, hey, I'll go where you want me to go. Heck, I'll go to Canada or Mexico. I'll go to Israel. Wherever you want me to go. But if you want me to go, you have to fund me to get there to bring you the news that you want. All my bills are paid. They're paid on time. They're usually several days to a week or two in advance. No matter what it is, they're just paid. So if you want me to go there, come up with some donations and I'll be gone. People want me to go to LA and meet Patrick out at LAX. I'm good to go. I can leave in about 2 hours if there was donations. Now a lot of people like to play that game like, well, give me your information so I can get you an airline ticket. I don't think so. I'm not an idiot. You may think I am, but I'm not. You know, I'm not overly suspicious, but I'm healthy suspicious. So now, certain people that's got funds that wanted to buy me a ticket, I'd be cool with that. Or if you didn't trust me for some reason, or you had a question mark, but you knew somebody else that was good within the movement, that you said, hey, I'll give them the funds and let them get you a ticket. Okay, we can work it out. If you want me to go to LAX, either give to my PayPal or somebody else's PayPal and tell them it's for my ticket. You know, and I'll go. I'm buying my own dang food. I could even put up for one night, maybe 2 nights of a motel. But that airline ticket, Patrick can meet me at the airport if that's what y'all want me to do. So I let y'all kind of decide. If the money comes in on my PayPal, I'll go. If it ain't, I stay. I'll let you know what's going on, and then you decide. Okay? I'm your reporter. I'm your accountability expert. I'm your accountability guy. Uh, I'm your minister. I'm your helper. To the best of my ability, I can't help everybody. Let's see. Did Jesus wait for transport funds before he went forth? No, he did not. But you're talking about God in the flesh. I'm not God. There's a big difference. If you think I'm Jesus, we're gonna have to give you more help than I can give you. Uh, that reminds me. I'm gonna tell you, since you brought it up. I'm gonna tell you a joke, but it has a moral behind the story. A man told his son if he had straight A's and he graduated at a certain level, uh, 3.0 or 4.0 GPA, whatever you call it, that him he would buy him a new car. But he had to cut his hair and not talk bad and all these other things. Well, it come and he didn't quite make it. He wasn't even on the cusp where his daddy might have went ahead and said, okay. Yeah, there's a lot of trolls out there. You're right. We'll just have to pray very hard for them. Really bad men and women have been turned around by the prayers of a righteous man or woman. It's happened too many times to count. I want to think about the positive. Anyway, when he graduated, he says, okay, Daddy, I'm ready for it. And he says, well, you ain't cut your hair and you didn't do what you promised. And he says, well, Jesus had a beard and Jesus had long hair. He said, that's right. He had a pair of sandals and a robe or a wrapping, and he went wherever he was going to go, wherever Pat and Ben took him, pat his feet and bend his knees with his beard and long hair. You know? Says, and Jesus was white. No, he really was not white, but he wasn't black and he wasn't brown. He was of an olive complexion. You say, Chief, how do you know that? Because in the line of family that he came from were the Jewish people. And the Jewish people are of an olive complexion. They were back then, they are now. You said wrong? Okay. Well, why don't you tell us, since you know it all and you know more than me? You just go ahead and extrapolate and you explain it to the people and you be the teacher, okay? Since you know so much and I know so little. Although I've studied this stuff over 40 years, I guess you said blue eyes and blonde hair. I don't think so. Mm-mm. That's an artist. That's an artist portrayal. Now, here's a good thing. The most famous man, and I can't think of his name. Maybe somebody will tell me. That painted the portrait of Jesus, the big portrait. I mean, the big picture of him that was used more than any picture in the. I believe it was the 1800s and through the 1900s and still to this day. Wish I could think of his name. But anyway, the man that posed for the picture about 5 years later, he wanted to paint a portrait of a bad man, a man quote down on his luck, no blessings, or he was an evil man or whatever. He found a man to pose for the portrait. He gave him his penance to sit for the picture. And as he was finishing, he said, I think this will do very good. And the man said, yeah, he said, but last time you gave me more money. And he said, what do you mean? When you had me pose as Jesus. The moral of the story is it was the same man, and he fit the artist concept here. 5 years later, he fit his concept here, and they were night and day difference in his belief, but it was the same man. So even the same man saw him completely, totally different. And he says, but I'm still the same exact man. He said, I've had a lot of hard times, and I do look rough and so forth, but I'm still the same man. I still put on my pants one leg at a time. And I still eat breakfast, lunch, and supper just like everybody else. And I go out and work like everybody else. Uh, well, remember, I told y'all 1,000 times probably. Now people say, "Oh, he lied. He only said it 992 times." Well, that's an expression. If you don't understand idioms, sayings, uh, general talk, I'm turning off that light. The sun's coming out good now. That's okay. I can help you if you want to learn. If you don't want to learn, I can't help you. Okay? You know, uh, idioms are like, a green thumb. My son, for example, being autistic, he thought a green thumb literally meant as a concrete thinker that you had a green thumb. We had to get him books and stuff years ago, and he had to study idioms. Well, now you can tell him, one in the hand is better than two in the bush. Uh, you got a real, you got a real green thumb. Wisdom is better than money because wisdom can replace your money over and over and over. You know, can you help Earl do the right thing? He don't need no help. He's doing the right thing. He's always been doing the right thing. He's a man. Men make mistakes. Men commit sin. You know, so that is what it is. People say you talk too much. Well, if you think so, then go ahead and go away. If you hate me, you don't like me, uh, then I don't know why you hang around. Why do you hang around? Do you want to try and turn other people against me? Is your hatred so bad that just my mere appearance or my voice sets you off? If that's so, you're going to have to go get professional help and see a therapist. Okay? You try and twist and turn my words around. Marvel not that Satan would transform himself into an angel of light. That's a word of wisdom from God, meaning people will come to you as a helper. They will come to you, uh, as a sheep, as a wolf in sheep's clothing. Okay? So, you know, I, I would think something else come to my mind. Somebody asked me about this the other day, and they told me their feelings on it. And they asked me mine. They said, people talk about e-becking. Well, if a guy is under a bridge and that's where he lives, okay, that's fine. That's up to him. And if he's got a cup and he shakes his cup at you and you decide to give him some change or some dollars or buy him some food, I buy food for people, but I have if the Lord laid it on my heart, I gave him 10, 20, $50. I don't think I've gave over 50 um, to an individual man or woman or family. I have filled up somebody's gas tank and bought the whole family some food. The Lord laid it on my heart and I did it. I felt good about it then. I feel good about it now. A lot of people passed the man up, just like the people passed up the crippled men at the gate into the city. That's a good story. The Good Samaritan. Uh, you know, I'm just thinking. But they asked me if I saw myself as a beggar. I said no, I don't. And they said, can you tell me why? This was a really smart man. And he said, well, I'm going to logic with you. And I'm going to come to a conclusion at the end of our conversation. I said, okay. He said, why do you not see yourself as a beggar? I said, well, a beggar is somebody that stands on a street corner in front of a church or a house or a building or wherever, and they shake their can, or they play music, or they do something, but they're basically just asking you, or they got that sign, will work for food, or work for money, or disabled, appreciate donations, whatever it says, and they're not doing nothing in return. That's a beggar. Okay, if you're paying all your bills 100%, and you say to people, hey, I want to go do a news story here. I want to go help some people over there. I want to go do these things. And you're going to get the audio visual effect that you donated towards. Okay, people sometimes gather up and they put money together to build a church. They say, what are we donating for? To build a church building. The church is to people, but the house of prayer, they go there. So they spend that money for that building to build it. Then they spend money to keep it up. They give donations to help pay the pastor's bills so he can study the word and teach it. Okay, good. Uh, that's organic. That is spiritual. Okay. Uh, I try and hold men and women accountable for their actions as public servants. Good morning. Uh, and the way I do that is try and report. I try and report it. I didn't never used to think of myself as a reporter or journalist. I always thought of myself as the helps, HELPS, helps ministry, helping people help themselves, helping get out the information. Okay, so the the point is, well, you should figure out that point. You know, if I tell you everything and I don't let you figure out anything, you know, that's not good on my part. And that's a bad habit. You know, uh, when people harp on the same thing day in and day out, and they try and belittle you for helping people, they try and talk nasty about you because they don't personally like you, uh, you know, that's bad. Now, we're called to make judgments all day, every day in our life. We judge if we're going to eat breakfast or not eat breakfast. If we do, what are we going to eat? Uh, are we going to stay in bed or get up and go to work or whatever it is we do in our life? You know, or are we going to push it back another day or two because we're tired and fatigued? But I'm I got so many things going on in my mind at the same time. Sometimes it's hard to stay on one subject. That's me. That's good or bad. Okay, either way. Either way. And if you murder somebody, if you rape somebody, that's evil and it's bad. Fact. Okay? If somebody's in here or somewhere else that says to rape somebody or to kill somebody's not bad, I think you got a very sick mind. And it's beyond what I can do to help you. Only Jesus can help you, or your your leadership in your religion could help you possibly. A psychologist, psychiatrist could help you. I can't. I mean, I pray for you and pray with you, but that's what I can do, and I do it. And people say, "Do you pray for the trolls?" I do. I ask them that God would please help tender their hearts, show them some mercy and some love, give them some peace, love, and joy, which is my motto: peace, love, and joy, so that they could have a better life. Uh, there's one man. I'm not going to out him, but there's one man that I know. He's on food stamps. He's on welfare. He lives in government housing. Uh, he gets free transportation to and from the doctors and to and from the grocery store. etc. Okay, the man's very hateful. He hates himself. When he looks in the mirror, he don't like what he sees. So he hates his own self. So how could he love me or you? If he's miserable, he wants to make everybody else miserable. And anybody that goes along with his line of hate, uh, viciousness, foul, cursing, nasty, then that becomes his friend because now they're condoning his behavior. They're embracing his behavior, etc. You know, some people you can't help. If a man is drowning and he kicks you away when you come to save him, there ain't but so much you can do. He'll drown you, you know. But back to the begging thing. Uh, it doesn't. It initially got under my skin. People say, e-beggar, e-beggar, stop e-begging, stop e-begging. Okay, it got under my skin for several days, maybe a couple of weeks when it first started. That's honest. I prayed and talked to the Lord about it. I talked to my wife about it. I talked to the team psychologist about it. And everybody kind of come around, and I got, communication from the Lord. He spoke to my spirit, and my wife talked straight with me, and other people did, and they said, look, you got to know that a lot of people are jealous. They want to be you, and they can't be you. They want what you have, which is peace, love, and joy, and they can't have it, so they strike out at you. And they try and body shame you. Every good thing you try and do, they try and denounce you and impeach you and make you sound bad. But people don't know the people that you take money out of our home. Okay? Charity begins at home. I said, right. And so my wife's not concerned with me doing this. She's just saying that we're spending our money, which she agrees with. We're in unison. We're evenly yoked before the Lord as husband and wife. But I take money out of our household budget that I set aside for this, and I've gone and taken groceries to people. I've put gas in their car so they could get back and forth to work. They had a hard time. Helped them pay some medical bills. Helped them do one thing and the next. Sometimes I just was having a hard time and I knew it, and would give them $100. $100, for a family ain't much, but it's $100 more than they had, and it's $100 less we had. But we felt really good about it. And what happened? Next day, somebody shows up and says, "Hey, I want to give you $500 for me or my family or the church. How are you saying it? In other words, I don't want you to give money for one thing over here and I do another. That's evil and bad. What's it for? It's for you. However you see fit, you can use it for your church, yourself, your family, but at least take enough money out to go take your wife out for a sweetheart dinner, a night out for y'all as a couple. It helps you to grow and be better people." I said, "Well, our son goes with us everywhere. Bye bye." Goes with us everywhere. And I said, "So it'll be a three-way meal." He says, "Yeah, but at least go for one meal for just you and your wife. It's always good for a husband and wife to get out by themselves and get away from everything, and it gives their children a break from them and from and the children from them." I said, "Okay." So basically, what we did is I talked to James and said, "Would it be okay with you if me and mother went out and ate, and we get you whatever your favorite food is and your dessert and bring it back to you? Or do you want to go with us? That would be okay for you and mother to go and just bring me back." And he'd tell us what he wanted. So we went and had a beautiful dinner. But the point is, I gave 100 out out of love, out of our heart, to somebody needy. And then, in my way of thinking, what goes around comes around. You throw a boomerang out softly, it comes back softly. If you throw it out too freaking hard, it'll come back and cut your head off. So, you know what I'm saying? Uh, so am I in preaching mode? Yes. Do I regret that? Nope. You know, if people go buy a newspaper, people buy ads in there. And that pays for the paper. People place ads in there of all sorts. So that's how the reporters get their money. That's how they pay for their building and their equipment. People say, well, you got AdSense. That's a fact. But sometimes it takes 3 months to get even $100. Okay. Uh, I have got like $110 or $115 in a 30-day period of time, but you know, that's not often. It usually takes 2, 3, or even 4 months to get $100 or $105, and you can't get it until that comes up. So that's not enough to pay to go uh, hardly anywhere. I mean, filled up my truck with gas yesterday, and it was $55 and some change. Okay, and I can go, 350 to 400 miles, depending if it's highway or city, on that most of the time. Now, uh, that's easy driving. That's not hard highway driving. My mileage goes up a little bit if it's what I consider very conservative driving. If you're staying at the speed limit all the time and you're having to, slow down and give it the gas and stuff like that, it goes way down. So uh, mileage depends. I can go down to 13 miles a gallon. Every once in a while on the highway in cool driving, I can get 15, and 14 seems to be a standard number. You know, plus or minus a fraction. So it goes down as low as 13, goes high as 15. Okay, so it takes money for the gas. If I go to McDonald's, yeah, I can eat for 6 to 7.50, but you can't eat at McDonald's 3 times a day, or Burger King or something. You know, you got to go in and get some vegetables and fruits and eat healthy. I could eat healthier. That's a fact. I guess we all could, except for a few people that's a real health nuts and they eat perfect. God bless them. That ain't me. But I do eat fruits and I do eat vegetables and I try and eat right. You know, uh, certain health issues that I don't care to share. You know, make it where I can't lose the weight I'd like to. I have lost weight. I've kind of evened out. You know, yeah. If you have too much money, I'll help you. So I don't see myself as a beggar. And on here, I guess because it's electronics, they call it e-begging. Begging's begging, but they want to compartmentalize. It's a specific type of begging, uh, but people get nothing out of it. I'm going to labor and return your donation in what you're donating towards. Every time, every single time I ask for donations, I said this is what it's for. Every time I got donations, I went and did exactly what I said I'd do. So, uh, if you looked at a year or better, maybe a year and a half, uh, you know, all the money, every last dime that was donated, some donated just to me or my family, but I even put that in. With all that, I'm still in the negative. You know, between gas, meals, lodging, I still in the negative. I still paid out of my pocket to go do it. Plus, I risked my life and my liberty to go do it. Okay. Well, Good for you, Mister Whoever you are. Go get your own channel. If you got if you got a message, go share it. And you talk really fast. I won't be bullied into doing what you want. I'm me. I'm comfortable being me. I love me. I love you too. But I don't love you trying to modify my behavior in being my own man. Uh, so I'm the same today, yesterday, tomorrow. I try and follow the mantra or the explanation of God. He was the same yesterday, today, and forever. Meaning that people change, but he don't change. So what was sin when man started is still sin today. Never changed. People's attitudes and their thought process changed, but they didn't change. In other words, his laws, his commandments never changed. He wrote a Bible, and it still says the same thing it said way back when. And he's never come back and changed it. People say, oh, the Bible's written by men and men are fallible. God knows that. But God also gives men discernment. So if you read the Bible word for word, word for word, word for word, then to many people it'll look like it contradicts itself. If you read it in totality and the Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost, however you talk, God gives you God gives you discernment. And then it fits just like this here. There's no contradictions throughout. But it takes wisdom, knowledge, and the help of God to unlock it. It's not a code. It's in plain English. However, the English of long ago and the English of now is different, and because they don't teach the proper English or the King's English the way they should, then people don't understand. Like where it says, "Be ye perfect," and people will question me, hey preacher, how come how come God tells you to be perfect and you can't?" Well, what do you think perfect means? They say flawless, without blemish, there's no cracks, there's no fractures, there's nothing, and a man is a flawed vessel, so I can be perfect. I said, well, go look up in the Greek and the Hebrew and study it out. It will tell you that perfect in the Bible means to be grown up and mature in God, grown up and mature in Jesus Christ. Okay? That is the perfect it's talking about. And I said, perfect example. If you say, would you do something? Would you spell it Would or Wood? Same pronunciation, but totally different meanings. Why do they write pneumonia with a P? Why is my name pronounced Damon and the D at the end is silent the way I say it? The way my daddy says it is Damon. He pronounces the D at the end. He always has. It's like Raymond. It's Damon. But I always say Damon. You know. So it is what it is. That's uh that's what God told him to call me. And that's what he calls me. Uh anyway, I do what I think is right and just and fit in my eyes. I do what I think pleases the Lord. And I think if I say something, do something, or even have a thought that is offensive to the Lord, I try and stop. Even when I'm driving down the road, I talk to the Lord and I say, Lord, I had a thought and I know it was wrong and I shouldn't have let my mind go there. The devil's provoking me, and I ask your forgiveness in the name and blood of Jesus. That's what I do. So my talks to God or sometimes 30 seconds or a minute. Sometimes are for a few hours. I have paced the floors in my house for hours praying for people in desperate need. Their need has become life threatening in some cases. You know, you know, you're talking about putting cocaine up somebody's nostrils. Why? Why would you say that about me? Be honest. Why would you say that about me? My looks scare you? You're an angry man or woman? You have a bad life and you want me to have a bad life with you? Misery enjoys company? Uh, uh, you know, I'm who I am. I throw my cards out on the table. Uh, what you see is what you get. I know I'm a big man, fat, obese, morbid obese, whatever you want to say. That's just I understand that by man's standards. Okay, God sees me as His servant and one of His children, and He loves me. I love Him. If He loves you and you love Him, I don't think you'd be over here saying and doing what you do. But maybe you're in the religion of atheism, or you have some religion that advocates violence or body shaming, religious shaming. Uh, that's just like people say, "What do you think about the Muslims?" I don't know. About the same thing I think about Christians, yeah, Buddhist, the various religions. They say, "How could you say that?" Well, the Quran uh, runs pretty much parallel with the Bible to a point. And if I'm not mistaken, I did a lot of studies on this and talked to several Muslim men and their Inman, did some teaching to me because I said, if I understand you, I don't have to agree with you, but I can talk to you better. We can do better for each other. So I think it come down to when it was Ishmael and Isaac. Okay. Ishmael was the false seed. And let's see, Isaac was the promised seed. So when the promised seed went forward, the promised seed was blessed and prospered. But for the sake of Abraham, God said He would still bless uh, Ishmael. Okay, so He did it for the sake, but He said that His descendants or His people, and I'm paraphrasing here, okay, would always be angry and would always be at war with each other. Okay, here we are, you know, thousands of years later, and you see all throughout the Middle East that there's no peace, no rest, and no joy because they're always fighting each other. Okay, uh, as a rule. Now, there are places in the Middle East that have the religion of Islam from Ishmael, and they seem to be happy people and settled people, and they practice their beliefs and they don't hurt nobody. I'm with that. If you use your religion to harm people and hurt people, you don't have my support. You know, if you weaponize your religion to hurt people, that's bad and that's wrong. Okay, and you know The things I do for people, I do it out of the goodness of my heart. Now, because I talk so slow, I think about what I'm saying, and I try and be honest and lay my cards out there, a lot of people strike out at me. I'm a big target. No pun intended, but it's okay. So people try and psychologically stab me, strangle me, poke my eyes out, do whatever they're going to do. You know, some people are very, very sensitive. I'm not one of those guys. I don't appreciate it. I don't like it, but I'm not going to lash out. You're not gonna provoke me. Uh, Poking the flesh is where Satan comes after you and he teaches you and he motivates your flesh to hurt others. But you're actually not hurting me. You're actually making me stronger for the next round. My daddy told me, my earthly father told me, he said, we're in a baseball game. And it's been going on since Adam and Eve. And said, we go round after round after round. He said, the only thing that's changed is the players. The rule book's still the same. God's the creator of life and the first lawgiver. So he's supreme for these reasons and so many more I can't possibly tell you in 10 days. God's all knowledge, all power, and all strength. Now, a lot of the Muslims, they even say that they call God Allah. Where y'all call him God, we call him Allah. I say, but you think Jesus was a prophet, and I say Jesus is God in the flesh. Okay? Uh, that gets into a lot of theology and explanation, but in simple, he wrapped himself in flesh and walked among men. Okay? Uh, so they say, what's the same God? No. If you think Jesus is a servant and a prophet, a teacher, and he's not God, then you have a different God. I'm going to respect your right to believe how you believe, and you respect my right. I said, if somebody tries to come over to your mosque and hurt you, and I'll stand between you and them to protect you to the best of my ability. But I want you to come and stand in front of my church and protect me if Muslims come against me. So if Christians go against you or so called Christians, I'll stand between you and them and protect you. But I want reciprocation. I want you to be receptacle to me and come protect me too. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Okay? I try and pass out very small judgment because God's going to judge me the same way I judge others. So if I'm very harsh in my judgment, God's going to judge me very harshly also. Just the way it is. And God tells you that. God don't keep things in secret. And God doesn't, he's not slack concerning his promises to man, both those that you think are good and those that are bad. He tells you the way to heaven, he tells you the way to hell. Some people say they believe in heaven but don't believe in hell. Okay, that's your deal. That's okay. You believe how you want to. Uh, I work with a man or woman where they're at. Anyway, um, like I told the man, I don't see it. I said I see myself. I keep circling back around to this because I get off on a little tangent. The way to heaven is through Chief Jones's PayPal account. Now you know that's a lie to hell. Why would you spew such hatred? I mean, my God, do you hate yourself that bad? Uh, do you hate God that bad that you would say these things? That's pretty sick. Pretty sick. You know, uh, Yeah, I'm going to have to get some more mods in here. However, if I had even 10 mods in here right now, if I did, I would still tell them, hey, uh, if people aren't cursing, if they're not attacking others in here, let them get it out. You know, let them say what they got to say. Let them get it out of their system. Now, if they're threatening me, or they're threatening others to come do violence to us and our families or other people, uh, you know, we need to save it in the archive because then the proper authorities need to be notified so they can take action. Uh, you know, I know how to punch that little thing down there and make you go away, but that's not my way. I'm letting you. Hello. Uh, yeah, people's calling for a mod in here because people are talking nasty. I say, I think I've got good mods. I don't have a lot, per se, and they got jobs all over the place. So uh, they come and go as they can. I'm I'm thinking, if the people that hate my guts probably hate themselves, and if you went and talked to their family, they'd probably say that man or woman, they hate life, they hate their self, they're looking forward to dying. You know, uh, I uh, I believe in free speech to the point of you stepping on my rights or the next man or woman's rights. Uh, uh, why do I have so many trolls? I guess the same reason Jesus has so many naysayers. There's a lot of hatred in the world and a lot of screwy people, you know? So your free speech stops when you start trying to body shame me. Your free speech stops when you start threatening me, when you start telling lies on me or others. You threaten other people, you lie on them, you make presumptions, you make outrageous statements that are incendiary, you're trying to burn somebody up, then, yeah, wow, you still talking? Wow, you still here? You still here? You must love me. I'm getting through to you. I'm getting through to you, maybe. I'm trying to plant seeds in the trolls that maybe, when they go to sleep tonight, they'll have dreams of hell and bad things to start with, and then Jesus will show them that there's a better way, and they'll wake up and know that there's a better way. You know, so uh, I say go pound sand, or like Barney Fife, go up a street and yell fish. I love me. I love me. My people love me. Jesus loves me. If you don't love me, I can live with that. It's sad for you. Can you not see the happiness in my eyes? Can you not see I have a great life and a great family, have a great church, I have a great ministry, and when I say I, it's because Jesus provides I with that. But this big fat man gets on his hands and knees and prays to Jesus, humble myself very lowly. I go boldly before the throne, but I'm very, very repentful for anything that I see that I see that God pricks my heart and says is wrong. Or I'm scared. I'm scared that I've offended the Lord Jesus Christ. Some way, you know. So, uh, you know, I really believe people that would fat shame me or body shame me or whatever you want to call it, they're trying to change your behavior. They're trying to force you through their own will to change you. That person's got some psychological, mental, spiritual issues, and they need to recognize that and go get help. I mean, you know, if you come in here and talking ugly to me and bad about me, if that'll save another man or woman from grief today, just get it out. Okay? I'm a big man. I can take it. Okay? My daddy, Jesus, he's all power. He can take it. He's so strong, he can accept you to love him or reject him, and he gives you that right. You wouldn't have it except he gives it to you. Yeah, Jesus is my daddy. That's right. Uh, if you let him, he'll be your daddy too. If you don't, he's a gentleman and he won't force his way in. Uh, you know, you have earthly mothers and fathers, but spiritually, you have your father. You know, hallowed be thy name. Uh, your kingdom come. Your will be done in earth as in heaven. I can't remember the whole thing. I shouldn't say it because I can't remember all of it, but you understand that I paraphrase a lot. And I try and say I'm paraphrasing because some people's got that little hangnail that if there's a word the or is or why, if I miss one word, oh, you lied to the people. It says this. Well, they're trying to provoke me, they're trying to anger me. So I can't let that happen. Every situation that's bad, I, I do like Brother Don said. He was wrongly convicted. And he went to prison for 4 years. He was a minister before, during, and after. He just used his time in prison to help lead a lot of people to Jesus Christ and to turn their lives around. And he was falsely accused of uh, doing bad, nasty things to his son. But it was proven later his wife was a nut job and loco and hated his guts. His own son, if he was this bad, this was supposed to happen like when he was 7 or 8 years old, 9 years old, something in there. When he was 15, this same woman that made all these accusations said, I can't control him. I'm going to send him to live with you, his father. If she really thought that he did this, would she send him to live with this man? I think not. Anyway, he knew that I was at that time the assistant chief of police, working on becoming the chief of police if God showed me favor. And he wanted to go talk to me in private. And his daddy didn't know why. He says, I can't listen. He says, no, I want to talk to Brother Damon by himself. And we went out in the woods and he talked to me and said, you know, my mother threatened to make my life miserable if I didn't go along with this lie because she was mad at my daddy. Okay. And my daddy said, don't fight her. And he'd go to prison before he'd let my life be ruined. So he went. And he says, he asked me to help his daddy get a pardon of innocence. Not a pardon of innocence, based on his own testimony as the alleged victim. Uh, and I said, "Have you talked to your daddy about this?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Did he talk to you about talking to me about counseling you and mentoring you and helping you?" He said he loved you, thought you was a good man, and y'all worked in ministry together, and y'all went into prison ministries and preached to people there that other people threw away. I said, right. He said, but Daddy didn't know I was going to talk to you about this, and he he probably really doesn't want me to talk to you about it. He just says the past is the past. Let's move on. But he says my daddy's innocent, and my mama's mean and hateful and nasty, and said she she actually was dating a guy that did sexually assault me, and I tried to call the police and turn that in, and my mother said that I was a liar and all these things. So she lied on my daddy who didn't, and the man that did, she protected him because he provided the money and dealt with her being a psycho. He said, "So where do you go? What do you do?" I said, "Well, I'll counsel you." And I did counsel him, and I did talk to him, and I did help him. And his daddy said, he said, even though your mother's psycho, she's a nut job, she's the only mother you have. And said, we have to forgive her and we have to pray for her. That was a man I shared ministry with for, well, he recently passed away. But I shared ministry with him from about 91 or 92 till about 6 months ago. So, what did that be? 26, 27 years, something like that. I can't really remember. But anyway, the point is, there are a lot of mothers, current or ex wives, that hate their boyfriend, their common law husband, and they make false accusations. And that really makes it bad, makes it horrific on people that really are sexually assaulted. Because the police have to treat it all like it's legitimate, even when there's serious questions. Uh, because the Me Too movement is so strong and so powerful that it has done things like some people, like Bill Cosby, uh, that they proved for years and 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 years, and women after women after women, that it was so over the top in evidence that did that. Okay, and like that Harry Weinstein, he's still presumed innocent, but with as many women uh, as he has accused him from all over the country, it you know there's probably a lot more reason to believe he's guilty, but the presumption is he's innocent, and the state has to prove him guilty. But the point is, the Me Too movement is a good thing when it's used honorably, righteous, and justly. It's a very good thing. But when people weld it and they go get these statute of limitations erased, that's bad. The reason for the statute of limitations? I didn't write them. I learned about them from lawyers and judges and other people. Is because how long can you remember what happened today? Something really good or really bad? You remember the gist of it. I mean, you can probably, for days or weeks or months, you can probably you can probably tell it pretty accurately. But in a year, maybe not so much, 2 or 3 years, it gets even worse. When you get to 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, people die, people get sick or disabled, mentally or physically or both. They get married, they go through divorces, they get religion, they lose religion. A lot of life events happen, so they're motivated over that time to double down or let off. Their memories get fuzzy. Okay, like fuzzy math, they get fuzzy. The numbers don't add up no more. Uh, Even if they go back and look at their original statements, they don't have that clarity. So the state spends money for police investigations, district attorney, state attorney's office for investigations. They take up time on the court docket. They take up a lot of resources. So in the scheme of justice, a man or woman after a certain period of time, then they have some peace in their life again. So it's 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. 7 years to me, that's really stretching it. Uh, Now, once you go so long and you have a very long 7 years, a long time. It's a long time. Uh, then at that point in time, then they basically need to have some ability to not sit in fear forever in their life that one day some man or woman will jump up and say, "Hey, they sexually assaulted me 42 years ago, and you know they're 50 or 60 years old now, and I want to go back and try something from 1961 or 1972 or whatever, way back when." First of all, if you're going to be the witness, how well is your memory? What motivation might you have? What is your agenda? Uh, when you wait such a long, 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 long period of time, your memories are probably contaminated. You can still remember the gist of it, but exactness and proving something beyond a reasonable doubt gets to be very, 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 uh, very questionable. Other witnesses die. Uh, People have changed their priorities, their politics, etc. So uh, that can go to the good or bad. I've seen some people that, statute of limitations has been removed, and they had talked about being sexually assaulted or burglarized or whatever, uh, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and, quote, not getting no justice. That the statute of limitations run out long ago, that they had a 5 year or 7 year statute of limitations. Okay? And I say, well, why didn't during that 7 years, why didn't you do something? Well, I was busy with life and busy going to college and having a family or what have you, and I didn't have time to deal with it. I see. So when it was fresh and when it was new and the most painful, the most hurtful, and you could have, you just didn't. Now that you are, 20 or 30 years later, you've got your degree, you're ready to retire, you've got a family and you're happy, it's like now you need something to do with your life, and this is going to be exciting. And it's almost like you're getting excitement out of it. Now, on the other hand, on the other hand, uh, I'm for truth. Some men, some women, some children have been molested 20, 30, 40 years ago. And I'm not saying that the alleged wrongdoer should skate. I think that in that case, uh, it needs to be vetted. You can't just believe anybody that just runs up and says it. There has to be some questions and answers. There has to be some verifying of facts. Uh, I don't say you should distrust anybody that comes up with a claim, but you need to investigate and research and look at the big picture. How long ago was this? What was the relationships? Uh, do they have a agenda? Do they have a vendetta? Yada yada yada. Why would they lie? Why would they tell the truth? Who is the accused? What is their reputation? Uh, have they ever talked to anybody about this, including a doctor? Have they talked to a chaplain, a priest, an inman, a pastor? There's a lot of things that police need to look at. Okay. Now, sometimes your employer, I got to be careful how I say this. You could have an employer or a benefactor that wants to get somebody out of the way. And they say, hey, didn't you one time allege this or that? Yeah. Well, we want to help you bring that back up and make something out of it and give it some wheels and some legs. Because helping you deal with that will help us deal with what we need to deal with over here. Or uh, somebody else has a personal vendetta. You slighted them. You talked bad about them or their family or whatever it was. You know, the the point is things need to be examined. Some people said a sign has two sides. Some said it has eight sides. I say it's got 10. It's got eight around and a front and a back, so that's 10. That's more in depth than most people like to think of it. I try and think of life. How many sides is there to life? Why do people do what they do? Why do they not do what they don't do? Is it a personal belief from life experiences? Is it because their mom and daddy told them this is the way they was raised? Just like a lady got in serious political hot water for calling some people colored, meaning that they're black, their skin color's black. In my lifetime, I have heard black people and white people and people of other color refer to a black man or woman or child as colored, black, Negro, Afro American, African, American, black, so many ways. Now, the cultural, political correctness is to refer to a black man, woman, or child as an African American. But that hyphenates them, and I'm personally offended that they would be hyphenated. It makes them sound like they're less than a American. Uh, and then on the other hand, that's a nationality. Okay, they're saying you're an African and an American national. Okay, you're like belong to two countries. On the other hand, if you're a white man, woman, or child, you're referred to as a skin color white. Okay, nationalities over here and skin colors over here. If you're going to talk about white people, talk about black people, brown people, red people, yellow people, whatever color, olive color. You're over here. You know, if you're going to talk about nationality, you're American or you're a Texian or a Californian or a Floridian. You know, you're whatever, a state citizen or a national citizen or both. That's a nationality. Just like, well, there's Christian, but then there's the Baptist denomination, there's the Methodist, and so forth and so on. Pentecostal holiness, etc. That's that's a religion and a subset or a branch, however you'd like to say it. Now, on the other hand, you look at uh, you look at nationalities in a column. So if you was going to say African American, then white people would probably be European American. And they got Mexican American, Italian American. How come you can't be American American? Just thinking. You know, I I was taught politically correct in the mid '90s to refer to black people as African American, and I did it because I was taught and trained that way. But the longer I thought about it, and a lot of people told me, a lot of black people said, "Why can't you say I'm black? You're white. Why can't you just call me black? Why are you putting a nationality on me? Why are you deciding what nationality I am? I'm obviously black, but you don't know my nation. I'm American." So I'm getting mad. Uh, Sometimes I'd say black, and then people say, "I'm not black, I'm African American." I said, "Well, unless you're blind, your skin color is black." Uh, you know, so I try and be as accurate as possible. Okay. Uh, I had more black friends than white friends at different times in my life. I didn't set out to do that, and I didn't set out not to do that. That was just consequences of my life, either in school, college, in the workplace, whatever it was, at church. I was the only white member of an all-black church at one time. People say, "My God, are you serious?" Yeah, and I've known a black man and his wife to be the only members of an all white church that I went to. So, I don't I don't believe in forcing people to mix up, and I certainly don't believe in anybody trying to stop that. I believe every man and woman in this country should go to the church if they're choosing, or stay at home or go visit somebody and don't go. That's your freedom. Exercise it how you see fit. Uh, so you know, um, you do what you think you should do. Uh, Remember this here: if the government up here are servants, and then we're up here above them, but they try and twist it around, flip it, but we're really up here, and then the state government's here, or excuse me, we're here. Your local government's here, your state government's here, and your national government's down here. But they try and flip it around. Okay, they treat it, deem it the other way around. But that's false, fake, and wrong. Uh, God says love is the answer. If you love a man, you'll make excuses for that man. If you have peace in your heart, you'll always reach out. If you have joy in your heart, you'll spread joy. Whatever's in you is what you'll spread. You need to be able to look in the mirror and say, "Hey, I like you. In fact, I love you. And I love what's in you." In me, when I look in the mirror, I see Jesus. Okay? Not me, but I see him in me. Because if I didn't have him in me, uh, I would probably be a very, very dangerous man. I had my whole life in law enforcement. I know how they work investigations. I know how to throw a monkey wrench 10 ways to Sunday into an investigation completely legal. 100%. I know how to do that. Uh, but the honesty and integrity in me, Jesus in me, says you must be honest. You must do that which is right. And I fail at that. All men fail at that. Uh, I know some men that have gone into court when they get ready to swear them in, they say, I can't, I'm a liar. The judge will say, what? 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 You know, you can't be sworn because you're a liar. It says, yes, it's God, all men be liars, that God be the truth. I might have paraphrased there, but, it's what it is. So as a man thinketh himself, so shall he be. He thinks himself a dog, he'll live like a dog. He thinks himself a part of the royal family of God, he'll think himself of royalty and of the holy blood. And he will do everything he can to uphold that. I say this all the time, and people say, "Are you serious?" Yeah, I'm serious. If there's a good cop and he's trying to uphold the Constitution, and somebody's coming at him, I'm going to do everything in my power to break them down. Okay, just that amount of force that is necessary, but I'm going to break them down. People say, "Oh, he's fat, he's out of shape, he can't do stuff." You don't know what I can do. I could tell you, but I could show you faster than I could tell you. I'm no Hercules, and I'm not physically fit, but I can hold my own and I can do a lot of things. Okay? Everybody else, like, uh, you know, good days and bad days, physically, mentally, spiritually, all days are the same. They got 24 hours in them, God made them. Some are tougher on the flesh, some are easier in the flesh, but they're all good because God made them, and God don't make junk. But people turn themselves into junk a lot of times by what they listen to in their ears and what they watch with their eyes. A preacher said one time, he said, hey, he said, we had a van load of preachers, and said some woman come jogging by naked, and said all the preachers at one time made something like, whoo, and they all turned their heads and looked. And then we drove on. He said, was that sinful? He said, I don't think so. He said, that's nature. Men are stimulated by their eyes, and men watch. And men saw something that got their attention. And said we all kind of gasped, and someone's like, whew, like, oh, she's pretty, or oh, I can't believe this is happening, okay? And said we all looked. He said, that's natural. He said the sin would come in if we told the bus driver, hey, run down there and we can cut her off and see her again. Then we're dwelling on it and we're acting out upon it. He said, so something that happens, he said, just like, somebody's making you mad and you get this thing in your head where you can see yourself punching them in the face, but you don't actually do it. You know what I'm saying? Uh, Nearby news colony, yeah. So I'm saying, you know, he was a really good man, but he studied, the people that he studied under had probably a combined 400 plus years in ministry, maybe 500, I don't know, but most of them had 30 to 50 years or more, and he learned under them, and he basically took the best of the best out of all of them and incorporated a lot of his messages. So thinking about something doesn't necessarily make it sin, but if you dwell on it and you start thinking about it, pretty soon you'll do it. So as a man thinketh, so shall he do. You think yourself a good man, you'll soon be acting like a good man. And then you'll be thinking more about it and acting more like it. It's uphill or downhill, however it is, you know. Uh, my thought for the day is do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Would you want somebody to talk about you, about your physical uh, self, as in, oh, he looks skinny and unhealthy. He looks sickly. He's probably on drugs. Oh, that man's so fat, he can't walk. Uh, are you going to put those kind of judgments and shaming on somebody? If you think them in your mind, it's kind of one thing. Once you put it out here in the public, you know, what? What? What's going on? Okay. Would you want somebody to talk to you that way? Would you want somebody to talk to your mama and your daddy and your children, your family that way? Uh, just like people ask me, they says, "Hey, are you're labeling Merb, John Boy? You're labeling him. You're compartmentalizing him." No, he brought that on himself. It's a lot of people call him the turd, like a doo doo log. Okay, I don't do that. That's foul and that's nasty. But when you earn and you work actively day in and day out for a descriptive title, okay, then you get it. Okay, so I'm saying that if you go back and you study Charles Manson from childhood up to the murders of the Tates and the Biancas, then you see how it escalated, and you see how he drew people in and how he groomed them and trained them, so that he could just mention something and then go act out upon it. He didn't tell them, "Hey, go over here and murder these people," but he said enough things that they could understand what he was saying from all the previous speeches and all the previous mind training, like MK Ultra kind of stuff. Okay, uh, was he a CIA operative? I don't think so, but you know he was learning that type of stuff. He uh, naturally figured it out. People do something and it works, then he goes on and does something else and keeps trial and error. Okay. Well, he kept it up, and he eventually learned really good mind control. He learned emotional provocation. And one of the things that people do to make victims, and they've made victims out of some of these auditors. I know some auditors that probably would have gave me safe haven, for lack of a better word. They would help fund me. They believed what I believed, but they got caught up in Satan's den, for lack of a better explanation, the evil one. And I say that in morals, values, and ethics wise. In other words, he would say things and do things to make them act out. He would bring the very worst in them out. They could be a very good man or woman, but he would do something to draw them out. And when he drew them out and ostracized them and isolated them, then he kept making the bullseye tighter and tighter until he had his thumb pressed down on him like the man, a real tyrant. He learned a lot of tyrant tactics from cops that are friends of his. Yeah, he's got cops that are his friends and his followers, and they don't even realize that he's brainwashing them and leading them down the road of non-redemption. Okay, so he learned certain things from them. They feed him cop strategies and tactics. Okay, and then he's classically trained through law school of how to make arguments. He's trained at how to ask you questions and lead things. he's he's taught in how verbal judo how to twist your words around. Would you agree with me this? Well, you say this, blah blah blah. Okay, and some people aren't actually mentally disturbed. They're just evil. They're as sane as a rock. They just simply are evil. Charles Manson had a very high IQ, according to media reports back at that time and subsequently, which he's passed on now. But he had a very high IQ. And one of the ways that they gauged that was his abstract thinking and a lot of different things that he said and done. Okay? Merb is not Charles Manson. John Boy is not Charles Manson. Okay? Just like I'm not Jesus. But I follow Jesus and I follow his teachings. Good morning. I believe that basically the same principles he's following behind Manson. In other words, if you go and look at all the Manson things and see what all he did, how he escalated in his life, and then you put that parallel with Merv John Boy, the Manson family cult leader here from Mervville, you see how they run side by side. Okay, I'm not Jesus, but you see how Jesus lived and what he taught. And I do my best to live and teach and follow him in the same path. Well, he's over there doing the same thing that he did. Now, he probably didn't set out and say in his mind, I'm going to be like Charles Manson. I'm going to be the new and improved version of Charles Manson. I don't think he consciously thought that. And I don't even think he identified as that in any way, shape, form, or fashion. However, whether he did or didn't, that's just like a lot of people that do really good things, but maybe they're an atheist, but they do a lot of great things. They got good morals, values, and ethics that they were taught in life. And their people were usually Christian, but they were hurt in church, so they denounced God and denounced everything else. They're mainly just angry, but they do a lot of things that's seen as Christian. And people will believe that they're Christian based on their fruits. Okay? Uh, and just like Merv John Boy, he does a lot of bad things. Okay? A lot of bad things. And people start talking about how he's following down the path of Charles Manson. Mind control, cult leadership. We've seen Jim Jones, how he led people. Uh, First, they would beat them down and they would get their other minions to go do their dirty work and beat them down, beat them down, beat them down, and wear them out. Okay, and then they would say, uh, "Why don't you be a part of us, and we'll lay off, and you can be a part of us." They don't say it that way, but that's what it calculates to. Uh, so they kind of let them try and be a little friendly to them. In other words, they'll let off their back. They'll get off their back, and then they offer them some friendship and fellowship. It's false and fake fellowship and friendship, but they offer it to them. And so they're so needy to escape everything that they basically kind of yield to it. And then they get indoctrinated. And then they actually become a fighter. Some people's like this Munchausen syndrome and this Florence Nightingale or something, hey, heart to you. Did I do it right? Heart to you. God bless y'all. Peace, love, and joy to everybody. Uh, did you did y'all see? Do y'all see the light? Uh, I don't. I don't want to tell you everything. I think it's better for a man or woman to use their mind and start connecting their dots. Now I want to connect several dots, but I want to leave some for you to do. So it gives you something to do. It it shows you It lets you do your own research. So you're not just following Brother Damon or Chief Jones blindly and just say, well, you got a question? I hope it's a serious question. Uh, how's your son doing? He's doing good. He's doing good. Uh, Go ahead. He's he loves to sing and so forth and so on. Are we saved by faith, not by our works? Uh, well, this is what I believe. You have to do your own research and spend your time in the Word and talk to God. But my feelings, this is me, this is my personal belief. If a man or woman feels feels that they're wrong, they feel that things aren't right, then they need to go into their prayer closet, whether that's in their car, truck, their home, their lean-to, out by a creek, river, on a boat. They need to go to a place they feel comfortable. They need to take 5 or so minutes and just sit there and just kind of clear their mind, just kind of take in the air around them, kind of relax, think about what's going on, good and bad in their life, and how much are they playing into that. Then they need to say, God, I, I'm repenting of my wrongdoing, and be of a contrite spirit. In other words, it's not just the words, it's the way you feel and think. You want to be right, you want to be free, you want to have some peace, love, and joy. Life is not a rose garden, okay? It's not a rose garden. God didn't promise that. He only promised help was going to come and it was going to come in time, okay? uh, And it always has. Some people say God comes to the midnight hour. That's the last hour in the day. He waits to the last freaking minute. No. Midnight is the first second of the first minute of the first hour of every day. So it's right on time every time. And once you repent, I mean, really repent, mentally, physically, spiritually, you'll feel like 800 pounds is gone. Immediately you'll feel, but that's going to draw the evil one, Satan, the tempter. That's going to draw him and his demons in to motivate your flesh. Okay, it's going to pull them in to motivate your flesh to say and do bad things. Okay, because every time God does something good, the devil's trying to take it. Don't let him have it. But sometimes people yield to do this bad thing or lie. Then, boom, God blesses you tenfold back. What what did Job do wrong? What did Job do wrong? But his comforters come and told him blah 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 blah. But he held on. And Satan took everything. Everything. And he said, I still love you, God. I still serve you, God. He gave him every single thing back and tenfold more. People say, well, you got some health issues and you're a fat rat. Okay. Well, I do have health issues and I am fat. I understand that. You think if you think I don't know that I'm fat, you need some really serious help. I know that. Uh, some of it I could do better. Fact. Most of it, however, is medical conditions. And I know a lot of people use that as a cop out. And I'm telling you, I can do better. 80% is beyond my control, 20% is in my control. And I did go down about 30, maybe 35 pounds. Uh, that was my part that I could do. And I did do that. And I'm still working on it. And I'm asking people to pray for me to keep getting more healthy. And I asked God, I said, God, I don't question you. I never question God, but I ask for wisdom and understanding. And it's an attitude. You can ask while yet not asking. You can say, God, I don't question you, but I'm asking a question. Can you let me have an understanding, comprehension of why you chose me? It ain't like, poor me, why me? No pity party. Why me? Why not me? Okay? But I say, but let me know. And God says, because in all your hardships, in all your trouble, in all the bad things that happen to you in life, you keep throwing up holy hands and praising me and worshiping me. Your your hands aren't holy because they're holy because I say they're holy. Do you understand that the universe is off by 20%? NASA spent millions and millions of dollars to figure out if we was in the true orbit and true time, and I don't understand how they calculate all that. That's about 50 times above my pay grade. I'm not that intelligent in that specific area. Okay? So I admit that. I don't know how to work on engines or transmissions, and, you know, there's a lot of things I don't know. I know the Bible, and I know God and His law, and I understand man and His law, and how they're similar and totally opposite of each other. I understand how man's got buildings, whole entire buildings full of law books of every kind. Every rule, regulation, law, policy, procedure, just buildings full of it. God put all of His on a half a page, 10 of them. Okay? Men couldn't be happy with 10. Everything that God needed was in 10 commandments and it's on half a page. I don't even know if it's half a page. And man tries to do all that in buildings full of books. Computers reamed out with terabytes and terabytes, not gigabytes, but terabytes and terabytes. Whatever's above a terabyte, they're there, I'm sure. Okay. Uh, but you know, I'm trying to remember the man's name. It'll come to me. I may be off of here when it comes to me. But he said, God, can I get more time? And I don't remember if he asked for more time or a few years or 5 years or 10 years. But anyway, uh, a man come and told him, God heard you and you're going to get your extension in life. And the man said, what would be the sign? Because in that day and time they asked for a sign. What would be the sign? And God basically told him, if I'm having a little trouble remembering, but you'll get the gist of the story, that the sundial would stop and it would go backward by 10%. So that means God actually stopped the sun in place and He stopped the earth in place. And He reversed the current of the earth by 10% to prove and show to one righteous man that He was God Almighty and He stopped the earth and the sun. He stopped the whole universe and backed it up for that man. It happened twice in the Bible that I know of. Now, people will surely say, well, we need that Bible in verse and we want to study it out. If somebody knows that, please share it in here. If you don't know it now but you find it later, maybe you can put it in the comments. If I have a chance later today or tomorrow and I can find it, I'll put it in here. You know, uh, you know, uh, Jesus wasn't scared to die on the cross. Jesus was very, very uh, upset at taking on man's sin because he was flawless. He was perfect the way we think of it, not perfect like it says in the Bible, but he was perfect in every way, God in the flesh. He was nervous, righteously concerned. I don't know what the right word is, but that he was going to take all of man's sins from the beginning of time to the end of time upon his flesh. And to be perfect and flawless and no sin and take it all on your back, to shed your life's blood for an unholy and unrighteous people, people say, how do you know he's God? Who else do you think could have done that? How many people will you die for that hate on you? I mean, they were the trolls of their day. They were trolling Jesus. Now they're trolling us. They may be these people's descendants. Who knows? God knows. I don't know. He ain't told me. I don't know. Uh, this guy needs hot dogs. You need a life. I pray God help you have a life. Who is trolling you? The numbers, I'd say, are between 30 to 100 people, depending, you know, from day to day. Depends on their motivation. Depends if they're on their medications, off their medications, they're under therapy, not. Uh, Maybe their food stamps got cut off. Their housing, they got thrown out of their housing for dealing dope. I don't know. You know, sometimes things go bad. Several of them are cops. And because we exposed them, because we exposed them, then they troll us. They try and impeach our testimony, impeach our witness, impeach our whatever, you know. Uh, but I have to go on, you know. I'm a mature man. I have to continue to mature and become more perfect and more grown up in Jesus. I have to be more kind. Uh, and if you press me, I'm probably going to have to double down and be even double kind to you. Uh, you know, I love people. I forgive people. I don't forget and let my guard down, but I forgive them. But even Jesus tell you there's consequences for your wrongdoing. Don't plant tomatoes and expect potatoes to come from tomatoes. Don't don't plant an apple tree and expect oranges. Okay? A tree yields itself. If it is a banana tree, you're going to get bananas and oranges and so forth and so on. Insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So the trolls come day in and day out and day in and day out, trying to change my behavior and my conduct and my mode of life. They want me to curse at them and say bad things to them. I won't do it. I call them out from time to time to slow them down, make them reflect, maybe change their way of life. Sometimes they get very outrageous and they go too overboard where I feel like now they're infringing on my rights. So now they lose their rights. Or they're infringing on another man's woman or man's rights or a child. And then I block them. I do. I block them. That's a fact. I've said it from the beginning. If you do it, I'll delete you, block you, report you. Uh, Troll lives matter. They do. That's a fact. That's a fact. Their lives do matter. They matter to Jesus Christ. They matter to me too. Uh, they're some of my best possibilities. Jesus went under the unrighteous people, not the righteous people. I pray for the trolls very hard. Uh, I really trolls are some of the best possibilities. it would be harder to convert them to be Christians and live righteous lives than your atypical man or woman, if there's such a thing. What would be, considered that in society? So going to get a Christian from another church to come join your church, that's bad and it's wrong. You ain't supposed to do it. Okay. Uh, no, I thank you for the offer, but I'm going to decline not to unblock the trolls. Uh, Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I'm not going to go down that road. Take me to church. We're here. You are the church. I can't take you to yourself. Look in the mirror, go to your nearest mirror and look at it, and there's the church. That's you. You're the body of Christ. Okay? The body's made up of many members. We go to a building or out in an open field and we gather. The church gathers at the potter's house of prayer. Jesus preached out in the open a lot of times. Now, he went in the synagogues also, but he was out in the open. I'm out here in the open. So, this electronic signal is going here in this country and around the world. Okay, so I'm preaching to you and with you, you know? So, I love the trolls. I hate their behavior, but I love the trolls. I pray for them. I think some of them have actually changed to some degree. Some of them attack me less, and others less. And when they do, it's only at half speed. So something good is happening in their life. They've discovered drugs, or Jesus, or doctors that could talk sense into them, or medicate them, or talk sense and medicate them combination. Their families had interventions. Maybe they got off of food stamps and welfare and actually got a job and they're back to work and they're getting around more good people. They're not isolated in their home, uh, in their parents' attic or basement or grandma's or sponging off other people. Now, when I said that, I know some very good men and women that have to live at home with their parents because their parents need them there to help take care of them. Or they got some sort of disability, mentally or physically or combination, and it's better that they be around people that love them and a safety net. But at but to some point, they're so isolated and they don't their people skills diminish because they're not around people, and they become little more than a keyboard coward. If they would stand on their own front porch and just stand out in the street, they'd be scared and run in their house. They don't know how to talk to you. They don't know how to communicate with you. They've lost those skills and abilities. Or they are an evil person. Or they're angry at themselves and the world. And if they hate themselves, how much more are they going to hate you? It makes them feel good to lash out. It gives them some release. I'm telling you, we can go to the Bible for a history book, for literature, for the law, for the word. We can start at A and go to Z. We can study any man, woman, or child in the whole world and we can find the answers there. Okay? Or not. That's where I find all my answers. So, do you support Trump? I support him in the majority of things he does, as in getting the economy humming, the all time record breaking unemployment rate for black people, for other minorities. I believe him in these treaties that he has redone. That is actually uh, he's made America great again. We we become probably the greatest nation on earth in World War II because of the way we conducted ourselves and prosperity came, and that was what a lot of people call the greatest generation. Okay, we began to lose a lot of that in the 60s, and it's been on a downward spiral. And I think he has taken us back to World War II status in many ways. Now, I have sent a personal message to him, and I think he got it. Now, how he acts upon it will be another story. Um, that the way the police do this confiscation and forfeiture, it's wrong. Now, see, he was listening to national chiefs of police and national sheriffs. Well, they want to fund their agencies, and they want to do so under the guise of safety and security. Now, I think proper seizure and fines and forfeitures are correct. But I think that probably as much as 70% or more is overkill and misuse. And it's set up under the guise of safety and security, but it's really to get funding. Okay, let me say it this way. Um, Say a man uh, has a pouch of marijuana, for example. We'll just go something simple. But it's individually packaged in these little packages, say there's 20 in there, and it's in a bag. Well, that man could be doing that because he puts them in there to roll up one joint at a time. But the government will see as that's distribution. In other words, you're a merchant in drugs. Okay, so you got all these prepackaged to sell. So it doesn't matter what you intended to do. The law says it does, but they'll twist around. So now you got this fancy car. So they're going to confiscate it and make it a cop car to make them look good or to sell it. Okay. Guess what else? You may have been a hard worker and you got 10 grand in your bank. They're going to try and seize your bank account and get your 10 grand. They're also going to look at uh, if they can try and figure out any way to connect that to your house, they're going to try and seize your house. So now they got your car, they got your bank account, and they have your home. All because you had about less than a cigarette pack full of dope because it was separated. And and probably would be a normal misdemeanor and you'd pay a fine or even jail time. Well, now they're threatening you with putting you in prison for 5 to 10 years and taking everything you worked for the last 20 or 30 years of your life. That's asinine. It's stupid. It's insane, but it goes on every day. You know what I mean? So that's wrong. I got a real good moral compass. Some people's compass is broken. And Jesus said the landmarks had been moved. You, if you, if the landmarks are moved, you don't know how to get to where you're going. Okay, the landmarks tell you how to get from point A to B and B to C and so forth. I talked about everything under the sun, I suppose, today. Uh, I'll give y'all another minute here to talk back and forth to each other and ask any questions, share any information, whatever y'all want to do. And then I'm going to wrap this up. It's been 2 hours and 24 minutes and 29 seconds. Thank you, too. A drunk man cannot communicate with a sober man, and a sober man with a drunk man. A man of Satan can't converse with a man of God. And it says this world is of Satan. Okay, so we don't. This isn't our home. We're passing through. We're on a journey. But some people, this is their home. Okay. Uh, Whoever that Ben guy is, he's very negative. He needs some attention. Please, somebody give the man some attention. Uh, he really needs. He really needs some attention. He needs some prayer because he just keeps on and on and on and on and on here. Just give me attention. I did. Uh, where do you live, Ben? What do you do for work? You retired, disabled, a bum? I mean, what do you do? We'll just take a minute and deal with you. I said I like gardens. I live in England. England's a beautiful place. Says cheers, mate. Yeah, bloody good show. Hello from a friend. Hello. So you love me? Huh. Stay safe. Yes, you too. God bless you. Turn that frown upside down. Okay. What time is it there in England, Ben? Cybertron. Yo yo yo, Cybertron. He's a Cybertron's a really good guy. I have to remember to go make him a mod. Uh, 2:24. Let's see. What time is it? What time is it here Central Time? I'm used to looking on my watch. Let me see here. Let me turn this baby on. It's 8:26 here, and it's two something there. So we're six hours ahead of you. Then is that right, Ben? Did we lose you, Ben? Merv is talking about you. Good. If he's on my back, maybe he's off your back. Maybe I'll take the load. I'm taking the load. We're behind in England. Okay, well, that's okay. If somebody said, I believe in Jesus, that's fantastic. I do too. A man puts his money where his heart is. My heart's in Jesus, and I put a lot of money into ministry. You are my new fantasy. What does that mean? Would you extrapolate, drill down, and give some comprehension as to that statement? I feel very intrigued to talk to you. Uh, you are my new fantasy. Fantasy is make believe. A lot of different types of fantasies. You're my new favorite person. Well, that's great. Okay. Well, I hope you gave me a thumbs up. I I do smile a lot. Um, but my mama and daddy they got all their teeth, but I don't see. I got them all in the front and down the bottom. But, on the way back here in the low part, I missed a lot of teeth. Do you have a dog? Yes. I have two poodles and a dachshund. Uh, I have a cat. Cats are good. Certain uh, D.J. D.Go. I'll figure it out later. But anyway, uh, they're male poodles, and somebody years and years and years and years ago, probably like 30 years ago, gave me a poodle as a gift. And I'd always been into big dogs. Anyway, that dog would sit right here on my shoulder. And his name was Benji. That's what I called him. He'd ride right here on my shoulder going down the road. And when I sit in my chair, he'd sit at my feet and he'd sit at the foot of the bed. And he become my little buddy. And I've kind of become a poodle dog, but also had German Shepherds too. I've had some retired police dogs that were German Shepherds, and then I had a dog that was about a year and a half old that was a pedigree that somebody wanted to give away, but they wanted somebody that could handle a German Shepherd. And so I took the dog, and he recently passed. But these dogs, they're companions to me in general, but mainly they're service dogs for James, my son. Said, "Are you really for real?" Yeah, I'm for real. Uh, anyway, they've helped. He's autistic, and they've helped drawn him out. They help him talk and communicate. In fact, he thanks. Uh, he reads books to the dogs sometimes, and they sit there and listen to him, and they're very content. He has a really nice, smooth voice, and he pets them and talks to them and reads some books. So that helps draw him out, and he builds confidence. And he has schedules that he walks the dogs. Okay, and he he it gives him some kind. It helps his communication skills, and the doctors recommend it. Well, there was one, and then there was two, and then there was three. Actually, my uncle had these wiener dogs, and hey, Reverend Kelly, uh, he had too many of them. They're looking for homes, and the dash hound that we had, that was James's service dog, uh, he passed on. Anyway, uh, I said, well, we'll get him to replace him. So uh, turtles are good. Turtles live to be very, very old in a lot of cases, certain types of them anyway. When I went to the Cayman Islands, uh, here some years ago, they got a turtle refuge there. Yeah, I love animals too. They're God's creatures. Said in England we eat people. You're cannibals? That's weird. Sounds like Motel Hell. I couldn't read all that scripture, but thank you, and I'll try and go back and read it again later. They sell human meat in the UK. That is sad. Are you serious? What? Human meat? England's under the common law. Uh, that's the highest form of law, just like the United States common law is the highest form of law. Now they had conversions of courts in the 1960s, and they quote try to do away with it, but you can't do away with something you did not create. Just like in certain states, they quote did away with the office of constable in certain states, but the state didn't create the office of constable, the people did. So it was there before they even had a constitution. And they include them in the constitution. Well, that's good. But if the constitution stayed or went away, either way, the constable stayed because it was an office of the people. In certain places, they abolished the justice of the peace office or the what do they call them? The coroner's office. They quote done away with them. Well, you couldn't do away with what you didn't create. Okay, see, the government didn't create rights, so they can't do away with them because they didn't create them. They only acknowledged that they were there. They acknowledged the constable's office. They acknowledged the justice of the peace. They acknowledged these things, that they existed. Whether it was by that name or another name, it still existed. You can only create what you create, and you can only uncreate what you create. Hello, 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 hello. My God, every time I think I'm going to close this down, something else comes up. Well, look, I've got to go to labor. A working man is a happy man. I got to go to labor and do the things that I have to do to pay the bills. And if y'all want me to go to LAX to meet Patrick, y'all have to send some funds for that. If you want me to go audit, you have to send funds for that and donations to my PayPal. If they're there, I'll do it. If they're not, then I won't. It's simple as that. Uh, and that's not e-begging. That's giving you an opportunity to give to things you believe in. People give donations to churches. People give donations to the United Way, United Fund, Red Cross. These are things they believe in. If you believe in me, if you believe in what I do, then send a donation. If you don't, then you keep your money. You know, I'm trying to do that which is right and just by the people, and report on the good people and the bad people in office. I could report on anything. If I see something I think needs reporting, I come in here. I'm the news media, Damon Chief Jones News Media. I report the news, and I have commentary, and I have personal beliefs and personal opinions, and I have professional beliefs and professional opinions. Hey, 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 all y'all. Uh, so I try and clarify if it's a personal opinion or a professional opinion. And I do the best I can until I come to the conclusions that I come to. Says you're a liar and a fraud. Wow, what a very presumptive, assumptive child. I mean, auditor, truth. You shouldn't call yourself that, in my personal opinion, because you're making accusations that are not in the record and not provable. The opposite is provable. Uh, so you're trying to defame me, disride me, uh, bring defamation, libel, and slander upon me. And those things are coming into check pretty soon too. Yes, they are. So, yes, I will be taking proper legal actions against the people that have brought defamation and slander to me. Yeah, it's all coming in due time. I'm in no rush. It's all coming in due time. I actually have attorneys that I've never met, and I don't know them from Adam's house cat that have watched some of this. They may be here watching now that have asked me, uh, I can't solicit you, it's against the law, but I can tell you I'm here, and it appears that you're a victim of slander and libel, and we would be interested in taking your case if you'd be interested in us, but we can't solicit. So they're soliciting while not soliciting. Anyway, I understand what they're saying, and I think there's some good men uh, and women too, alike. And I'm kind of sorting through who I might want to hire based on a contingency fee. I don't have no money to just throw out there outright. I mean, I could get some, but I'd rather do it the other way around. Because if it's on contingency, they have more motive to make it work out right. You don't use PayPal. Let's just see. Mm. Oh, yeah, by your chops. Yeah, yeah, I know who you are. Well, just send me an email over at damond4040 at yahoo.com. Damond4040 at yahoo.com. Damond4040 at yahoo.com. Send me an email and we'll chat. And uh, we'll figure it out. You know, uh, where there's a will, there's a way. Uh, okay, y'all. I said a couple minutes and it turned into another 5 or 10. So long. A right handed salute to all the people that's for Jesus and the Constitution and whatever, you know. A left handed salute to the communist, socialist, Marxist, far left fringe nut jobs. Uh, that's the only way I know to say it, you know. So I'm saluting both for who they are. I'm on the right handed salute. I'm center right. Uh, it is what it is. Bye, all you good people. Peace and love and joy to you in the name and blood of Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. I pray that you all have a great day. Those of you that look in the mirror and are angry, keep looking in there and keep talking to yourself and tell yourself you're a good guy or a good gal and love Jesus and serve Jesus and things will get better for you. You know what I'm saying? Keep looking up. Jesus is the reason for every season. And I am the voice of reason. Reverend Kelly gave me that name, the voice of reason. The voice of reason for every season. Thanks, Brother Reverend Kelly. Jesus is good all the time, and all the time Jesus is good. The voice of reason for every season. Damon Chief Jones. Brother Damon, your man.